Hey guys, really quick before we get into the conversation I had with Zaid Ali, which was a great conversation, I wanted to remind everyone that you can have your hoops tape shown on this show on YouTube before a podcast, during a podcast, or after a home court episode. I want to attach Canadian talent to everything I put on YouTube to hopefully get a few more people to see your stuff, maybe people that wouldn't have otherwise seen it. The goal is to always get as many Canadians as far as possible in basketball. So send me your hoops tape at eskandysports@gmail.com. This is completely free. I'm not charging anybody for anything. We really just want to get as many people out there as possible. Also, if you guys could subscribe if you haven't already, that helps me a lot. And if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, leave a good review. And without further ado, Zaid Ali. This one was really fun. Enjoy. What's going on, everyone? You're listening to, I think, episode 14. I could be wrong about that. On the Eskandy Sports Podcast, we're here with our guest here, Zaid Ali. Zaid, how you doing, bro? Where you at?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. I'm just at the crib, man. Appreciate you for having me on here, brother.
No, I'm excited to talk to you, man. You have a pretty cool story from what I read into, and we're going to dive into a bunch of the stuff. But first, we're in Calgary, or are we in Toronto right now?
I've actually been out here in Toronto for about like 6 years now, but before that I grew up back home in Calgary, like 10, 11 years over there. So
that'd make a lot of sense, because you went to George Harris Prep.
Yeah, I did go to George Harris Prep, but that was like just one of the schools out of like kind of like the lineup of kind of my journey of where I went, how I came around. But George Harris was my senior year for sure.
Okay, because I know they got Edge out there as well, and their grind session team and all that. So I was wondering, like, George Harris instead of Edge.
But I actually, crazy part is I actually didn't even play basketball until like 9th grade, bro. I was a soccer player, so I actually played high level. I played high level soccer before that, but you know, when I came out here, it was like the culture that obviously Ontario has for basketball, you know, the outlook and everything. And it's not like I just picked up a ball for the first time, obviously, but you know, I kind of started to, you know, get into it, kind of start to put my focus towards one side rather than the other.
What was your position in soccer?
I was center forward, bro. I was a 6-foot center forward. I would have to come all the way back for defensive corners, you know, front post. But I'm kind of happy I don't got to do all that no more.
You rocking 9 or 10 from that spot?
I was actually always been 13. I will be 13.
13.
Yeah.
Waved. You waved. Yeah, you know, I think everyone played a little bit of soccer, but I'm guessing you played like rep or something. You got the hair.
I did. I actually played provincial level. Like I got to a really high level out there. Like I played. The way it works over there is like it's like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. And I was playing tier 1 for 2 years. I had a look actually to go out play for MLS, their youth academy for Whitecaps. But but my family moved out here, and it was like a big family kind of moment. And it was like, all right, you know, soccer isn't the most important thing right now. So let me kind of just figure out what I'm doing. And honestly, basketball found me throughout all that. So
we'll get to basketball in a second, because I don't get to talk about soccer a whole lot on this pod.
Yeah.
You know, we're Egyptian. We rock with Salah, and I played growing up as well. So let's pick on that for a bit. So was soccer the original motive? Like you thought?
Oh yeah.
You got the MLS. You got the MLS deal going on, and you thought that's where you're gonna take you.
Like, the way it worked, it was like everybody that's out west, like Alberta over all the way to BC, it's kind of like it's just soccer, bro. The culture out there for soccer is insane. You know, one of my guys, my goalkeeper for 2 years, Chituro Dunze, is right now playing for Leicester FC out in the Premier League. You know, he's actually doing big moves, and he actually went through the same program that I was supposed to go to, Whitecaps. But you know, who knows what would have happened if I went down that path? But you know,
dude, it's a fun path. It's a fun path. I actually wanted to talk about that with you as well, not just like the European model, because like, how old are you?
I'm 19.
You're young, yeah. So your buddy probably went out to Europe young as well.
Yeah, he did for sure.
It's so interesting because like they're like, okay, you're a soccer player, like you fuck with soccer, let's just ship you off, like let's just go. None of this JUCO stuff. You have to get your grade up. No, you're a soccer player. You're going.
Yeah.
What do you miss about it?
It's more of a straight route though. Like, you know, from over there, it's a lot more controlled. I thought, like, because with him, a lot of guys that I know. Shout out to my guy Owen and Chitu, both are actually doing big things both in MLS and over in the Premier League, but it's more of like a controlled system, like prep school, but it's like the youth academy for Whitecaps FC. Same thing we got out here for Toronto FC, same thing we got for a lot of youth programs with all these MLS teams, but it's a lot more controlled for sure.
What do you miss about it?
What I miss about it, man, I'm not gonna lie, like the passion I still got for the game is like insane, bro. Like I love soccer. You know, we got the Euros coming up just now. You know, I'm super excited. Like I don't know what it is. I love basketball. Don't get me wrong. Like it's my love. It's my passion. I love doing it. But when it comes to soccer, that connection I just have with like the community of soccer fans, you know, the passion everyone has for the game just brings everyone together. So, you know, I saw it a lot in 2016 with Toronto playing Bucks. I saw how the city came together. So that was something that, like, you know, kind of reminded me of that time. But that the community of soccer, like, that's what I miss the most for sure.
Dude, pickup basketball's fun and all, but I thought pickup soccer was always the most fun I'd have when you just like, because there's no way you know everybody there unless you're like, you know, you've been playing your whole life, and you can get 20 guys to go and play. Yeah. No, because then, and like it's so collaborative that you have to actually immediately mess with the guys that you're playing with. You can't go to LA. You don't get that at LA Fitness, man.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, bro, for sure. I remember, bro, up until like grade 6, I was like overweight. You know, like I didn't play a lot of sports, and I still had the love for sports, and soccer was like my first initial kind of a gateway entry into athletics. And honestly, like that's where I met a lot of my friends that I got till this day. You know what I mean? They were a lot older than me. They kind of showed me the ways of the game, and honestly, like it just brought everyone together, bro. That's the best part about playing at such a young age, right?
All right, for sure. Besides Lester, who are you rocking with?
Bro, I'm a big damn, that's actually a crazy question. You put me on the spot there, but
go for it. You're on the spot.
If I'm in the Prem, I'm probably gonna stay with Liverpool. I've been with Liverpool.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, doing like
that. For sure.
Yeah.
Bro, we watch a lot. We don't watch Liverpool. We watch a lot, but then you grow to love it. You grow to love the club too. Klopp's kind of animated. It's fun. What about outside of the Premier?
Outside of the Premier, bro, like I'm not gonna lie, like for me, I know a lot of people are probably gonna watch this and be like, oh, this guy's a bandwagon, but I've been rocking with Ronaldo since I was a kid, man. You know what I mean? That whole Ronaldo beef, and it's like I'm not like jumping from team to team, but wherever Ronaldo's at, like that's where my heart's at. So I'm probably rocking with Juve right now, even though they weren't able to win Serie A or anything, but it is what it is.
I lost a little steam for Juventus when you can't play them on FIFA anymore. They still got the players and stuff, but they don't call.
Oh yeah, man, I don't even play FIFA like that no more. But I was a big head back in the day, so.
All right. Back to basketball. Where did you pick it up? When did you come to love it?
I actually when I moved out here in like 9th grade, I came out here to Brampton, and I was going to Brampton Centennial Secondary School. And like obviously when you get out here, you don't know nobody coming into high school. You know, it's like a very unprecedented time, like trying to figure out what you want to do, trying to figure out who you're trying to hang out with. You know, I didn't have any friends coming into it. So honestly, my comfort zone was actually just playing basketball. The YMCA is not too far from my house. So every day after school, I'd go there. And this is 9th grade. So when I came, I actually wasn't able to play on the basketball team my freshman year because of the transfer rules or whatever. But you know, that first year I came in, and they actually let me come out to a tournament, which was the last tournament, and he gave me like a minute of play time, and I scored 7 points. You know, and I was like, you know, like this is what I do. So next year comes around, 10th grade. I was actually the captain of our team, and we were playing tier 1, and you know, we won ROPS that year. You know, shout out to my guy Camonte Marksman, Jackson Kelly. You know, that was a pretty serious team back then, and we went 31-1 or something like that, and we won that season. That was kind of like my breakout season, and you know, I did pretty well that season. I was averaging about like 18-19 points a game, and the following year I had a choice because I had a couple of my teammates at the time at Brampton Centennial kind of getting into the prep scene. So I didn't know, you know, like, do I do this? Do I not do this? Because, you know, me being of Pakistani descent, that's not something that's normal. You don't just hop out of your comfort zone and, you know, leave your home, go down south, go do all this. It was kind of super unprecedented. So it was like a leap of faith for me. But I actually ended up having a great following year at Brampton Centennial with our senior squad. I got a bunch of looks for prep schools, you know, and honestly, kind of just like that's where it kind of took off for me. So.
There's two things I want to get into. I don't know which one I want to get into first, so I'll let you pick. So grade 9, you pick up the ball, you drop 7 points in a minute. Yeah. I'm assuming there was some work that went in before that.
Oh yeah. I think I skipped over all that,
but hold on, we'll get to that. Or do you want to answer the question first about you talked about your Pakistani descent? I'm from Egyptian descent. I know, you know, soccer is that's not a big leap for the family, but basketball, they don't see it like that. They don't see it as like a big sport like that. So which one do you want to pick first? We're gonna get to both.
Honestly, if we go like in like chronological order. I feel like I should answer the first question first.
Let's go.
We'll get into the after. But nah, man, like I said, when I moved out here, I didn't know a lot of people. So for me, like my bread and butter, my everyday was just, all right, let's grab your ball, let's go to the Y. Let's kind of get to know people. When I got out there, there was, Brampton YMCA is probably one of the most greatest hoop locations in Brampton. Some of the greatest basketball players came through there. A lot of D1 hoopers right now, David Moencat, and a lot of guys came through there. So it's a big gym. And when I got there, I'm getting to know people. Everyone's like, oh, who's this brown kid? Doesn't really know how to play ball. And that just had like a drive in me. I was like, damn, like I want to be able to be playing on that side with the big kids. I want to be able to play on that side with the guys that got something going for them. And honestly, that was my drive. So I would come in every day and just train. And that grade 9 to grade 10 year was a huge like jump for me. It was like, all right, it went from like you got raw talent to like, okay, now you matched it with like work. So that was kind of what went into that.
That's interesting because like you're talking about how you're almost too big for your role in soccer at 6 foot, but then you're almost too small for your role in basketball.
Yeah, I grew though. I'm actually up to like 6'3" now. So
okay, big.
I got a couple inches on me, but before I was definitely too small.
Yeah, but I mean that probably, I watched your tape. You're a good shooter. That probably came from the Y. That probably came from, I can't go to the trees right away.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Like I've always been a good shooter. Like that was something that was like, all right, this is where you start off and you build off from there. You always got something that you do, but everyone told me, oh, take your role and kind of just play with it and kind of build off from it. So me being a shooter, I was like, okay, I could catch and shoot. Now I got to be able to shoot off the dribble. Now I got to be able to shoot off like DHOs, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like it kind of just built off from there. So
yeah, and shooting is a highly technical thing to train, right? Like there's a lot of work that goes into a good looking jump shot. Your shot looks good. So did you get that from training, or did you watch people first before you started hooping? Like I'm assuming, because this turnaround period, like you're saying, if you really started messing with it in like grade 9 and you're only 19 now, like that's a quick time to develop a shot like that. So how do you think you got to that point?
Honestly, I want to give a huge shout out right here and now. I know he's probably gonna be watching this, but one of my boys from back in the day, his name is Magsud from Calgary. And he was kind of like a big bro to me, and he had the wettest jump shot like I had ever seen in my life, right? So I played soccer at the time. So we would go play soccer and he'd go play ball with his boys. So I'd be like, you know what? Let me just not go play soccer today. Let me go play ball with him today. So I kind of just shadowed him, and honestly, he gave me that foundation for what a great jump shot is, even though it maybe wouldn't go in, but I did know that my shot looked clean. And honestly, I just built it off from there. And that was like grade 8, 9, I want to say, right? So when I actually started playing basketball, I had the basis and the foundation to be able to have like a fluid jump shot to actually work with.
For sure. And do you think you transferred anything over from soccer to basketball? Is there like a mindset or like a tendency that you had for both sports that you think helped out?
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure, bro. For sure. Like when I started playing soccer, I was never the best. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, oh, I was always at the top of the league, or I was always the best scorer. Like I got there, but it was always an uphill climb. You know what I mean? Like being brown, being Pakistani. I know a lot of people say like, oh, that's just an excuse, but no, I always did feel like I had a chip on my shoulders. I always did feel like I had to work harder than some people to get to where I had to get. And that same mentality kind of just translated over into basketball. Like it wasn't always like, okay, my first couple of seasons, I didn't even play. You know what I mean? It was like just sitting on and for a lot of kids, that age, that just demotivates them to be like, all right, you know what? Screw this. Let me try to do something else. But for me, it was like, you know what? It's before the sunny days come, you got to go through the hard work. And that's something my father always preached to me too. So definitely that mindset translated over for sure.
And for the Pakistani part, like I know coming from an immigrant household, there's probably some standards that weren't sports related. How'd you get the fam on board? Are they on board? And what's that kind of journey been like?
Early on, like my father was always like my dad was always like on board with everything, man. Like I gotta give a big shout out to my dad as well. Like him, when I used to play soccer, having like 9 a.m. games in like the other side of the city, waking up at like 8, waking me up too, getting me in the car, driving 40 minutes out and sitting in the rain to watch me play. The only parent that's out there doing that, So I did definitely had a great like support system. But when it came time to like grade 11 and I had like 4 or 5 schools to pick from to be like, okay, where am I going to prep school? And they're all down south. That's when my family kind of came together and like, okay, like, like, are we going to do this? Or actually, I'm not going to lie. It was kind of me in my own head more so than them. I was like, okay, I'm doing this. Like my cousin my friends, my family friends, none of them are doing this. I'm really stepping out of the box here, and it was like a huge leap. And I'm honestly grateful that I did do that, because I'm obviously where I am now. So it's
yeah, it sounds like you got a great support system at home. That's rare. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah,
immigrant parents, they're supportive, but like
mm-hmm.
there are a standard, at least in my experience. And then like, I mean, I think it's fair to say that a lot of people that come over to Canada or come over to the West, they're really invested in, look, we came here so that you can take advantage of the education system or etc., get a good career and be comfortable. So yeah, that is a huge sort of.
I got a funny story for you, actually.
Yeah, what's up?
I got a funny story for you, but the way my dad actually held me to those standards was like, it was always, you got to get, like, I know this was always like, I always had high expectations in terms of like education. I had to bring home a certain grade, and it wasn't like for regular kids it'd be like, oh, you can't, I'm gonna take your phone away, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. My dad wouldn't even say a single word to me. If I had a bad grade, my kicks are gone, like my ball kicks are gone, you know what I mean? Like I can't move no more. So that happened to me in like grade 10, and I'm like, damn, like he's serious about this, and you know what I mean? Like I can't hoop, I can't do nothing. So that was my big thing. I was so in love with the game where I was like, you know what, to be able to play, and I'm so grateful that my dad set it up like that, because that gave me like, an extra conscience to be like, all right, I got to keep both things hand in hand. But that was kind of like his punishment in a way, to take away my ball from me. So it worked out for sure.
Yeah, my mom had the same approach, maybe the opposite. She's like, you can only shut me up if you have A's.
Yeah,
like I'm gonna be on you unless you show me great, which is like, looking back on it, it was so annoying, but it's so worth it.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. In the moment, like no kid's gonna be like, oh, I'm so grateful my parents are on my ass 24/7. You know what I mean? Like it's not something. But when you grow up, it's like, you know what I mean? Like I'm grateful that I did have those boundaries on me. So
for sure. For sure. But well, can you pinpoint a moment where it was like, okay, like you're going to George Harris, and that's a team in the grind. They spend a lot of time in the States. It's becoming less of after school, before school practice, and more of like, maybe basketball a little bit ahead of academics point. Can you pinpoint a time where you're like, okay, like you talked about how you had to make the commitment yourself, but like, when did it manifest, if that makes sense? Like when did it become like a real sort of like, we're going in? I don't think you mentioned it yet, but before I went to George Harris, my first prep school was actually down south in Jacksonville, Florida, at Potter's House Christian Academy. So that was like I said, after that grade 11 year I had here, I went down south there, and they were recruiting like a crazy team. Like our team was insane. We had Panzo on the squad, we had Tomasi Gildas-Alexander, we had Dontavius King, we had Marseille Castens, and like a big squad for sure. And we had big expectations as well. So for me, getting that call after like the kind of the tryout that not really a tryout, it was like a hoop sesh, and a recruiter was there. And after I got that call, him being like, oh, we sent this many kids to these D1 schools. Our last year we had Udoka Azubike, who's like got Kansas, about to go league. I'm getting that call, and that's where I was like, all right, I could definitely do something with this. It's an opportunity. Like I'm about to go to school for free, right? Like I'm going down south for free. Like they're gonna take care of me, and like that's where I was like, okay, like this is where it really starts. Yeah, no, I remember Azumbuki. I remember thinking he was gonna be a really good NBA prospect.
Yeah. He went to Potter's house, so he was like, anything we did, like we were always like, oh, Udoka did this, Udoka did that, always just being compared to Dokes. But big shout out to Udoka as well, man. He's a great guy. So,
grade 11, you got to pack up the bags. You're going down south.
Yeah.
Like, is that nerve wracking? Is that like you already moved, your family already moved from Calgary to Toronto, and now you're moving from Toronto down south.
Yeah.
So how about that process?
Like I would be lying if I said it was easy. Like it was definitely not like something that was easy, because like for me, it's always, okay, build all these relationships and then just dip. You know what I mean? Or then you just gotta go. For 10 years, I spent all that time in Calgary, had family around me, made so many friends, got to come out here, restart from the beginning, build all these relationships out here, do what you got to do, but then you got to leave, and then you got to go down south. But, I feel like the only reason I was able to do it was because of my dad, because my dad had a similar, journey in terms of leaving home, figuring himself out, and he kind of gave me his example all the time. So I was like, that's just, if you want something that like that bad, like this is a message from me to any kids that are watching this as well, Like if you want something bad like that, honestly, like you gotta step out your comfort zone. You know, no great men were never made in their comfort zone. You know, that was something my dad always told me too. So, you know, going down there, it wasn't easy for me. Jacksonville is really a really racist part of the states, like the stuff that I had to deal with. I was like a minority in a minority, you know, so it was like definitely a hard time. I would call my dad certain times and be like, Pops, like this isn't what I thought it would be, you know. My own, like, I don't even want to say certain things on here, but you know, like there was a lot of instances where, you know, like it wasn't easy, but like I had to push through, and that's where I was like, you know, like I realized that this is my purpose and I gotta take it and I gotta run with it. So
yeah, you can talk. What's something that you had to deal with there that you're comfortable talking about? We're comfortable hearing anything. So
yeah, honestly, like I tell this to like anyone who asks me to, but there's one time we're at Paxton High School, which is it's a local high school in Jacksonville, and their rivalry with Potter's House, since we're like a prep school, they're like a regular high school, but they got like a big school, right? So the rivalry is insane. So when we go over there and we play, the gym's packed out. Like I'm saying, like packed out, you know, stands are full. They got seats they got cameras in the gym, everything. I think we had overtime, we had Ball is Life or whatever in the gym as well. And I ended up starting the game because it was like, you know, like it was like the second week out there, and coaches are trying to figure out the lineup, see who works well together, who doesn't work well together. And you know, I'm on the court and I'm at 45. I'm on the offense in 45, and the ball's getting inbounded from the opposite side of the court. And I'm hearing people calling me Aladdin. I'm hearing people calling me like, you know, like other words. Like I don't even like I don't want to make this like rated R or anything, but you know what I mean. It was definitely like, it was tough because like right now I got thick skin, so I wouldn't be phased at all. But at the time I was 16, right? So I'm young at that time. I'm like, damn, I left everything back home, my comfort zone, my everything, and I'm out here and I'm having to deal with stuff like this, right? So it wasn't easy. I had one of my assistant coaches who always used to throw jabs at me, you know, like, oh, we got a flight next week, guys, but oh, Ali might get held up at TSA, right? Like, and like, I know that was funny, but like just the stuff that I was dealing with at the time with everything piling up, it definitely wasn't the easiest thing for sure. But, you know, it definitely made me have thick skin for sure.
I'm not trying to laugh at your pain. I'm just saying, like, I hear similar stuff too. Like before yesterday, I had a nice bigger beard. I'm Egyptian as well. So I know that you have a triumph moment over there where you had that and then you showed some people up.
Oh yeah. My triumph moment was when I scored like 25 points against Julian Newman when he came to our school. Like
Julie Newman, he's a little guy, yeah, overtime guy.
He's a little guy. I'm not gonna lie, the hype was what the big thing was about it. It was like, and I didn't even guard him. I actually guarded Emmanuel Sawi. Like that guy, shout out to Emmanuel, man. That guy's sick. But you know, they're coming into our gym. I think the Newman's Family Show or whatever was going on. I don't know what the hell it's called, but they were in the gym. You know, they were filming. There was dumb hype, and I ended up going off. Like if you go onto my Instagram, you can even check it out. I have the overtime mixtape posted there. But like that was kind of like my triumph moment. You know, I was like, you know, I'm out here. This is where it paid off. You know, I had a big game. All the sports media outlets like Greenlight, all these people were posting me in Florida. So that's where I was like, you know, like screw everything that's going on. Like let's just keep with it.
That's just hoop. Yeah, dude. No, I mean, I try not to talk bad about anybody on my pod, but like that Newman family pisses me off. Maybe because I rock with big ballers, but like
I'm not gonna say too much because like I do know them, but I don't. But they're cool for sure.
They're cool?
They're cool, yeah. They're cool, bro.
I should backpedal on my hate. I shouldn't enjoy Newman.
Nah, bro, nah. I ain't even gonna get into all that.
Come on. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, he seems small on tape, so I'm assuming he's a little small.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Like, I actually got a technical. Like I think his dad was like chirping me, bro, like on the dumbest shit, you know. Like I was my bad, I don't want to curse on here, but I was on the offense, and his dad's just chirping me, and I turned around and I was like, sit down, Igor, you know. Right? And I got technical. I was like, bro, what the heck, you know? But they definitely like to talk a lot though. I know that for sure.
I mean, if they're gonna hype it up for the camera for their show, they have to be accepting of it coming back. You know what I mean? Like you gotta take L's.
For sure. But crazy thing is, I don't know if I'm about to expose some people right now or not, but like,
do it.
I'm about to expose the shit out of some people. This turned into drama alert, bro. But
I'm in.
When we were out there, like everyone who watches their show, you know, at the end of every game, they'll be like, oh, Julian, 40 points, 12 assists. Oh, Julian, 30 points, 6 assists. And like, damn, like the kid's going off. Even though they're taking L's on L's, the kid's going off, right? He comes to play us, and I promise, like, I'm not even exaggerating now. Like the guy had like 8 points, like 3 assists. I would be exaggerating if I said like 10 points. And when I went back and people are sending me the episode, we're like, oh, you're in the episode, you're playing Julian, this, that. And at the end of the episode, it says Julian Newman, 32 points. And I'm like, what? I'm like, there's no way that he had 32 points, you know, but that kind of lets you know, that should let a lot of people know that, you know, a lot of the time the social media stuff is kind of bougie. So be careful.
I mean, I think little guys could score. I mean, people have done it in the league, but I'm like, because I used to watch that stuff too. Like I didn't watch the show, but I used to, like, overtime wouldn't let it like go. And every time it's Julian Newman does this, Julian Newman does that. I'm like, there's got to be guys at that level that he's playing at that are locking him up sometimes. There's no way it's always.
Oh yeah, no, for sure, bro. Like for sure. Like our team, I think I was the shortest and I was like 6'3". You know, Weza Panther was like 6'7". Tamasi, like Gilgis Alexander, I think he's like 6'6". Dontavius King, who's at Charleston, like 6'6" too. So we had a huge lineup back then. So yeah.
I did a little bit of research prior to the pod. I just wanted to see how many Pakistani players play at the next level. I don't know if my numbers are skewed if they're like taking people right from Pakistan, but like when I looked it up, it's like there's 2 in Division 1 and there's none in the NBA. I don't know how accurate those numbers are, but I'm assuming it probably is low.
Yeah.
Who did you look up to going through all this? Like, did you have to identify with other people's because maybe there wasn't a whole lot that you could grasp on from, like, you know, from where you're from?
Yeah. Honestly, like for me, it was I don't even think it's funny how you said 2. I don't even think there's 2 right now. I actually only know 1, and he plays at LMU right now. He's my guy. But honestly, other than that, I feel like even me being here in OUA, I think I'm the first Pakistani OUA basketball player in the history, right? So it's like, it's definitely like the culture is it's waking up now, you know, it's like starting to come about now. But in terms of who I looked up to, honestly, like there was never like an embodiment of somebody that I like attached myself to and be like, you know, like this is what that's why I felt like it was always so hard, you know, like I didn't have that blueprint, you know, that a lot of people do have. They're like, okay, you know, this so and so did this way, or so and so did this way. I just honestly, Bikramjeet Gill, he plays over in Japan. He's from Brampton. He's kind of like my big bro. So, you know, anytime I gotta ask him something, I shoot him a text. But my mentor, I'll say for sure, is George Aramide. He was my coach from like 9th grade, even up until now. He's kind of like my right hand guy. So he was definitely in my corner throughout everything. So he's kind of the person I want to say I look up to in terms of like getting through all this whole process.
Yeah, no, I struggle with that too. I don't know. Like, are you supposed to? I just don't know what it's like for other people. You know, like. Yeah. You and I, like, we don't, like, there's no Egyptians in the NBA. I mean, I think there's some Arabs in the NBA, but I don't think they're Egyptian. I think there was, Nader?
And it's Cantor, even Turkish, I think he's Turkish.
Yeah.
Something, and this, Nader, as well. We got a lot of Muslims, but, you know, not a lot of people of, like, you know, Middle Eastern or
exactly.
You know,
so I wonder if that, like, makes you almost, like, allows you to watch the game almost holistically at that point. Maybe, like, I feel like if, like, for soccer, right, like we were talking about earlier, like, I watched Salah. Like, I just, like, if I was still in soccer, or if I was growing up now and Salah was the guy, I'd probably just model my game after him 100% and, like, be almost oblivious to the rest of the sport. So I wonder if you think it's I mean, there's definitely positive and negatives. What do you think of that dynamic of not really having someone to latch onto like that?
Honestly, it just makes you look a lot more within, bro. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you look at everything around you and it's like, okay, I can't relate so much with like so and so, and I can't be like, okay, this is my person. But obviously to me, it's like I don't that like sense of identity for me, I was never there, so I never even like looked into it anymore. I still latch on to players like, obviously, like Devin Booker, like, is my guy for sure. Like, I look at him in all aspects of the game, you know, because I want to model myself after him. But, you know, other than that, like, that aspect of it, like, I can't really talk much on because I never had it. You know, I never really had that opportunity to be like, okay, like you said, if you got Salah, you just be like, oh, screw everything else. This is my guy. I'm everything he does. I'm gonna do it like him. There's a lot of basketball players have that. You know what I mean? And it's like, for me, I never really had that. So I had to look within and be like, how can I better myself to be like so and so, right?
Yeah, like, I wonder if everyone's just gonna like Curry's obviously like a huge role model for a lot of kids because he's like a great shooter, and that's probably something that you can work on to be competitive at. But it's like, if you're just focusing on Curry, you're not learning from Dame, or you're not learning from Jokic, you're not learning from. So interesting. So Yeah, I got 2 questions on top of my mind. We're gonna go with George Harris right now. How was your experience playing in the grind? So after you leave Jacksonville, going back to George, am I getting that timeline right? Jacksonville, then to George Harris?
Yeah, I played in the grind in Jacksonville as well, though. Both teams were in the grind. Both teams were in the grind. So my first year was with Potter's House in the grind, and that was like a wake up for me for sure. Like, coming from like a regular PO basketball to going down there, it was like a really big wake up. That's where I had to actually learn to start finishing above the rim, because me going out there, like, it was a rude awakening. Especially not even in games, like practices. I was getting my stuff blocked off the backboard like religiously. You know, I was like, okay, you know, I can't go up soft anymore, and that just kind of changed my game as well. Like now, it's like no matter what it is, even if it's an open lane, you finish it above the rim every time just to put it in the rim, right? But that first year in the grind definitely set me up, because I was younger at Potter's House, so I was learning from everyone around me, just seeping in everything. You know, they had a lot more experience, but then when I got to George Harris, it was more of like, you know, a veteran role to come in and be like, okay, you know, I've been here before, you know, I've done this before, this is what it takes, and we got to all buy in. And you know, and the best thing about it was that we did all buy in, so it was a great time there.
So that's super interesting then, because that means you played on both sides of the border but in the same league. So how does the American prep system prepare differently than the Canadian prep system? Did you see anything? I mean, it's just only 2 schools, so you can't really make it a whole sweeping statement about it. But how did they train you differently in the States versus how they trained you up in Canada?
So for me, it was actually a little different, because I was a little more in my comfort zone when I was up here. Because George Harris, even though they're in the grind, even though we do play the best competition, it's only like, I want to say 10 minutes away from where my parents live. Right, so like that, it's definitely not comparable, because when I was down south, it was like 8 a.m. lifts, right? Then you got like, you come back home, then you got to go to class from like 9 to 2, right? Then you come back as a team, then you got to shoot around from like 2 to 3, right? Then you come back and you can go to rehab, you can do what you want, because then you got a game at like 6. So you're pretty much, your entire day is just basketball, right? Like that's it. Over here, if you kind of switch it around, it's more so like, it was a lot more comfort, I want to say, but it wasn't like unhealthy comfort. It was like, it was good comfort. I was able to be around family more. Family was able to come out to games a lot more. You know, it was a little different. But in terms of intensity, I'm gonna say other side of the border for sure. Like that's where I kind of grew a lot more as a player.
Respect. Okay. So you grew up in Alberta. I guess most of your formative years you're in Alberta. What kind of perception does Alberta and like the western part of Canada have on us in Ontario? And would you take any of it back now that you actually live here?
Yeah, bro, I'm gonna be honest. Are you asking what the interpretation of Ontario is to Albertans, or what the interpretation of Alberta to Ontarians?
No. I know how I feel about Alberta. But I'm assuming that they feel a way about us too. So how do they feel about us at that?
Honestly, like I think everyone knows it, man. Like I think it's Drake who kind of really just set the narrative of what Toronto is, right? Like it's on like a national spectrum now. Like and it's crazy that I'm giving all the credit to one guy, but let's be honest, like it kind of is Drake that put Toronto on the map like that. So back in the day, when I was told that, like I was actually only told like a month in advance. Okay, yeah, we're packing our stuff up, we're going to Toronto. So I'm like, okay, I spent 11 years of my life here, I got to go there. So immediately right off the back, I was like, yeah, like I don't want to go. I'm not going to go. That's crap. It's going to ruin my life. It's going to do this, it's going to do that. But the perception of Ontario is always the big city. You know what I mean? It's always like you go there, there's more opportunity, there's more this. And the crazy thing is when I came out here, that was true. You know, it's a lot more fast paced. Like Calgary in size isn't comparative at all to like the GTA. So, you know, you can get from one place to another place a lot quicker. And honestly, Ontario, like in terms of living, like now that I've been here, lived here, I love Calgary. Shout out YYC, but like I would never go back, man. Honestly, like I would never go back. It's so close, so small. You know what I mean? Not a lot of stuff to do. Opportunity there's limited. Like the Edge School is probably the only school out there that really has that connection to like UPlay Canada and stuff like that. So, you know, it's a lot harder to make it out from there, I'll say, than to come out to Ontario.
You grab anything from Alberta that helps you when you're out here? That like you see something differently in yourself that you can probably attribute to Alberta that probably wouldn't have got here?
For sure. Like being from a smaller city, it's like you kind of learn to stay to your like conservative to yourself a lot more. right? Like keeping a smaller circle, you know, going about your day, doing what you got to do with like those 2 or 3 friends. And I realized like the hard way coming out here, like you can't be too friendly, right? You can't come out here and just be friends with everybody, because out here it's like some people will say one thing, you know, be meaning something else, right? And it's like it's just the sad reality of what it is out here. That's what honestly, it's a personal opinion. I'm not just gonna go ahead and generalize like all of Ontario like that, but it's a personal opinion. So for me coming out here and like just being myself, just staying to myself with my family, small circle, it honestly just helped me propel myself, my career a lot more quicker than I needed to. So that's where I felt like I kind of took away from living out all those years out in Alberta.
So the grind as a whole, back to your prep circuit, how was that experience? Like, what were some games that you kind of stick out to you, and like what was it just like being in the grind? Like that's like the Premier League.
Yeah. So my first year in the grind, like our first session, man, like I probably wasn't even able to like put the ball on the floor. Like, it was a completely different ball game. Like you're getting pressed up every single time you grab the ball. You're coming off of a screen. You're getting bumped. The refs aren't gonna call that because everybody there's like 6'6", 6'7", right? So it's like for me coming in, I'm kind of frail at the time. I didn't have a lot of muscle on me, so I was like, you know, like this is the real deal. It was my first couple sessions that I was going. It was like, okay, let's figure out how this league works. Let's figure out, you know, how I can score in this league, how I could do, because it wasn't as easy as before that I was doing out here. Over here, coming off a screen, attack the rim and just go and lay it up. You can't lay anything up in the grind. You know what I mean? So it's like that was definitely a wake up call. So from that moment forward, it was like you gotta get athletic. You gotta get athletic. So after that, it was kind of just like the ball started rolling, and I went from averaging like 3 points a game to midway through the year averaging like 15 points a game, right? So it was a big jump from there, and especially using that and just ending off the year strong. I think we went to the SIAA finals, which was the other league that we were in, which is the Florida League, right? So a lot of the SIAA teams are also in the grind. So it was like a SIAA grind session crossover, and schools like DME were in it. Oldsmar Christian was in it. The Rock, I don't know if you heard of The Rock, but The Rock, yeah. But like those schools were in it, and you know, I finished off pretty strong on my first year in the grind. So if I talk about a premier game, I want to say I had a big game against Legion. Like that was my first year. That was a really big game out there, and it was, I can't remember what other Canadian player was on the other team, but I think we were going head to head and he was guarding me, but I finished out strong, like 22, 23, and scoring 22, 23 in a grind game, in a game that like ends off like 67 to like 75 is a big deal, you know? So it was definitely like, that was my premier game for sure.
Did you ever have any long spells on the bench? Did you ever have to struggle with playing time?
With playing time, I was just at the beginning of the year. Like for me, it was like I had guys like Milan Harrison, who's now a pro, like Amasi Gilgeous-Alexander ahead of me at the beginning of the year, right? Coming in, it was like, okay, you're a combo guard, you got to work, right? But for me, it was never like, oh, I'm on the bench, fuck this, I'm not gonna be motivated, I'm not gonna work. That honestly made me work harder than everyone else. You know, a lot of the guys on the team they had already been to like Hamilton Heights and all these other schools, right? So it was like they knew the culture, so they were kind of able to take that step back and kind of be comfortable in that environment. For me, it was like, I'm out there for the first time, so for me, I don't know when to stop working. I don't know when to stop pushing myself, right? Like we're coming back from practice, I'm calling up a coach. I'm like, there's no exaggeration. I'm calling up a coach. I'm be like, all right, yo, coach, like, is it cool if you could drop me off to the gym? I want to get some more shots up. You know, so I'm constantly in the gym, and even that impression that I'm giving to these coaches. So like now I start getting a lot more opportunities, and I actually solidified myself to start a lot more games, right? So it was that right in the beginning, but other than that, I don't think I really dealt with a lot of like long spells on the bench.
Right, and it's not supposed to be a disrespect thing, but I think there is learning opportunities there that kids aren't really kind of understanding, because I know a lot of kids want to go to prep and be the man, when it's like you can get a lot of benefits from so what, you're not playing, you know, all but 5 minutes in the game. There is merit to learning the game at a good program and making do of your shots.
I think the biggest thing that kids need to understand is like when you get to prep, everyone there was at one point in time the man. You know what I mean? Right. Like everybody's coming in and everybody was doing their thing wherever they were at, you know? So it's like, we actually had a guy, I don't want to drop names, but he came in and he wanted to be the man there too, but he wasn't working for it. He felt like he was entitled. They sent his ass home. You know what I mean? It was like, if you're not dialed in, you're not buying in, the team as a whole can't perform. right? So it's like, it was never like, oh, I'm gonna snatch it off your plate, I'm gonna snatch it off your plate. It was like, how can we all eat at the same time and like the team win too? So that's the mentality that like a lot of kids don't grasp, and I think really holds them back in that environment.
Was there a lot of selfishness in those leagues and among those teams? Like, how did you see guys kind of circumvent that and become more team oriented? Because like, to keep it a buck, like you're at prep to make it one step further. So it's hard telling guys like, no, like we need to do this and this for the good of the team, when he wants to do something else to get further.
No, honestly, like I said, when we came in, we had a lot of egos on the team. Like I wasn't one of them, because I was obviously like I was my first time out there. I was just grateful that I had the opportunity to be there, but there was a lot of egos on the team. Guys coming in being like, oh, I should be the primary ball handler. I should be, getting the most looks, because we had a lot, like the recruitment that went into that team. Like I still think that team was one of the best teams in like high school basketball. I definitely do believe that to this day. But the thing was, until we all bought in, it wasn't working, because everybody was just so many egos clashing, so many people going head to head, like, no, like I want that spot. And like our team, and with our talent in the beginning of the season, we were dropping easy games. We were dropping games that should have been won, and it was like, that's where we all kind of came together. We didn't even have a coaches meeting. All of our players, like we all used to live together in apartments. We all came together. We're like, yo, how are we going to go about this? How are we going to do this? And it was just like a moment of, all right, let's everybody buy in to this culture. And that's where everything started clicking, So,
yeah. And I guess not a lot of people are going to get recruited from a 5-25 team either. So at some point you gotta put it behind you.
Put it behind you, for sure. We had no choice. Like we had no, like the craziest thing was like, beginning of the season, like we had like Michigan, Georgetown, LSU, all these schools come in to come and recruit, right? And we're all going back and forth, and it got to a point where we actually, like, Team White and Team Black actually ended up brawling. Like we fought each other, like fists were thrown, and we're teammates, right? It was like shirts and no shirts, and we had big name coaches in the stands, and that's when that's also another moment where we all were like, okay, like what are we really doing? Like we're supposed to be brothers. Like we out here painting a bad image for all of us around us. Like all these coaches that were just in the gym, they're probably going back to their programs like, all right, these guys don't got their shit together, right? So like that's definitely something for sure.
Yeah, I've been I have no firsthand experience of this, but I've been watching a lot of Last Chance U, and just seeing how that sort of area works. So like when you have people at practices and games and stuff like that, it baffles my mind that they can act anything less than professional during, like, like the dude that wants to give you scholarships right there. Why are you throwing punches? How do you get to that point, and how would you rally like away from that, or does it just kind of sticks?
I actually had a little bit of a problem with somebody on the team who was starting point guard, and it was always like I'm showing out, and he felt that like I'm not supposed to, or I don't know, I'm not gonna go out and say whatever, but it was always egos. I'll say, like, I started developing an ego too, because everyone around me had an ego, and I was a kid, and I was like, oh, like this is how this shit works. For me, I'm like, this is how it works. You got to be selfish. This is how you get your own out here, and it's honestly not like that. Me coming out to a different program, I learned that, but at the time it was like egos, and we all let our egos get in the way. Like it wasn't even like one punch was thrown, and it wasn't like, oh, let's break it up. It was like, oh, everybody just can get involved. You know what I mean? Yeah. Let's just make it even worse. And that's when it wasn't even, our coaches didn't have to get in between it. That's why I love what we did as a squad at the time, because even after that, I think I lost a tooth, right? And it was like, I should have been pissed, but it was like, you know what? We're all here for our future. You know what I mean? We're all here to do something. We got some of the best talent in the country on this team right now. You know what I mean? We got to come together and be like, let's do this. Because it wasn't like a team that had been together for 2, 3, 4 years. It was a team that kind of came together for that year, and it was only that year. Right. And that was our big year. So it was great that we were able to pick up on that early and everybody buy in, because the guy that I had a problem with, we squashed it right after, and that was early on in the season. So after that, that's my guy. I love him to this day, so it's just like, it was all about actually just picking up and buying in. So that's something I definitely push forward.
So is it just something that people just don't really consider? Like when there are people watching, these things happen. It's just like heat of the moment.
I don't know. Like, I'm not going to lie. I know how important it is. Like I would have never done that. And I didn't. I wasn't a moment of like, oh, I'm gonna fight you. It was like, oh shit, you just punched me. Like my macho-ness, my manliness, my 16-year-old macho-ness. I gotta step up. You know what I mean? Like I gotta fend for myself. And look back at it, it would have been a lot better decision to just walk away from that. Like just be like, okay, let me just step away. But it wasn't even like that. It was like everybody just came together. It was a mess, but like it's just a matter of like understanding, man, like what opportunities you have. Like I knew that where I was, it was a blessing, you know what I mean? And I know how much I needed to value that, right? And it was like that's why I never chose to partake in certain things. I never chose to do this, that, and the third. I never chose to break our curfews. For me it was always like just stay straight to the T. So it's all about your mindset. You don't got a right mindset, you're not gonna be able to heap all of the advantages of your situation. So
yeah, before we escape the prep circuit, I want to ask you about a dude that you call little bro, Enoch. I'm not gonna try to say his last name. I mess it up every time.
Yeah, Boyaki. Enoch Boyaki.
Boyaki.
Yeah.
Tell me about the kid. Tell me about what he's like and what's it like playing with him. What's his future you think look like? And let's give some flowers.
Honestly, Enoch, man, he's been my little bro from time. We all grew up in the same neighborhood. So at the time that I was kind of like shining out and like really coming into my element, he was still a youngster. So like he kind of would look up to me. And at the time, like nobody really knew, what he was capable of. He was 6'2", and he was like a grade 8er. So, that was kind of his thing, 6'2" and a grade 8er, right? He was raw talent. So at the time I was like, you know what, like I didn't think much of it, but as things started going on, and we both played for G Elite as well, under George Aramide. So we kind of had that in common. And he's a great kid, man. He has great values, great support system at home as well. Like me and him see eye to eye on a lot of things, which is why when we came in he's the one who actually convinced me to come to George Harris, because he was coming back from Little Rock. I think he played at Southwest Christian Academy, and he was coming back up to play with George at George Harris. And he messaged me, and I'm in Edmonton at the time, trying to figure out if I'm gonna go back down to play for Potters, or if I'm gonna try to see where I'm going. And he's messaging me, he's like, oh yo, we got to get you on the team, we got to get this, we got to get that. And I'm talking to him, I'm like, all right, you know what, both of us have that experience of playing down south. The kid's got his head on straight, even though he's like a year or two younger than me. He's so mature, man. If you ever have a conversation with Enoch, he's so mature. He got his head on straight, he knows what he wants, and I think that attests to where he's at right now. Right, so if anybody who asks me about Enoch, I got nothing but love always. So
a lot of places label him a 5-star now, so there's going to be a lot of pressure on him, and it sounds like he'll be able to weather that.
No, for sure. The kid's been through like the lows of the lows. He always have to fight. A lot of people think that he's a 5-star now. He got that overnight. But no, like I've seen Enoch work. For me, when I was a senior at George Harris, I felt like I was putting in a lot more work than a lot of the younger guys. And the only person that I felt like I was either putting in the same amount of work, or if not more, was Enoch, right? And he was always in the gym. He was always putting in overtime, coming in early, leaving late. We had that same mindset, which is why, we see so much eye to eye. He's my brother to this day. So
How much of you two coming together, was any part of it like, let's do something in Canada? Was anything like, let's just do something for where we're from? Or was it kind of just like, it's just convenient, like right now that's just there, kind of thing?
I feel like for me, like coming back to Canada, I didn't see it that way, but for Enoch and myself, we had one of our coaches talk to us about it too. It was like, being a Canadian team in the grind, that's a big responsibility on your shoulders, right? Especially like, I think us and Orangeville are the only 2 Canadian teams that are even in the grind, right? So it's like you have a lot of pressure on your shoulders, right? So coming out there, and it's like you're representing. So if you lose a game by like, if an American team loses a game by like 20, it's just gonna get forgotten. But if you lose a game by like 20, it's gonna be like, oh shit, like Canadians are weak, right? And it's like that's that reputation that you gotta uphold. So when me and Enoch came together, and I'm not just saying it was me and Enoch, shout out to guys like Nathan Charles, Sam eBay, a lot. I'm missing out some names, but they know who they are. But like that team was definitely like a great squad of a lot of guys that just came in and bought into the culture. And I feel like although we didn't get the outcome we needed that year, it was just insane growth. We won a lot of games that we shouldn't have won, and we did a lot of stuff that I feel like was not written into our play. So that was definitely something.
So recently, there's been more and more prep schools developing in the GTA specifically. There's gonna be lots of options now for kids in high school to pick a school. How would you what would you say some important factors are in considering schools like yeah, going to a school in the grind is good and all, but like what do you think is like sort of the meta? How do you balance out what to look for in a school?
If you're looking for like a good basketball place, like a place like a situation for you as an individual basketball player, like I'll always say this to any kid I talk to, any kid who's always asking me like, oh, like what should I do? I'm always telling him it's not always about the biggest name, you know, like you don't gotta go to the Prolific Prep, or you don't gotta go to that, or like the Sierra Canyon. It's all about where you are valued as a player, where you have people looking out for you, because that really at the end of the day is what matters. Hold on. My bad, I got some dry.
It's all good.
But no, bro, it's not always about the biggest school, right? Like me, when like Potter's house fell into my lap. Like for me, it was just God's blessing to be able to go to that school and build myself up from there. For a lot of guys, like I'm telling them, like, yo, don't be ashamed to go into a school that's in the OSBA. Don't be scared to go to a school that's playing Canadian prep ball, because the scene in Canada right now is growing so much. Like, and I feel like you can vouch for that as well. Like anybody who's seen Canadian basketball grow with the last like 5 years have been insane. You know what I mean? All these leagues coming about, all these players that are now playing down south as well. Like it's insane. So my biggest thing is to go to a school where you as an individual have value. Have people looking out for you, because you don't want to just go to a school and become another statistic. You know what I mean? Just somebody that was there a certain year, because that at the end of the day is going to hurt you the most.
There is a large part of that, because it's just like for schools, it's also a business, right? So the part of you talking about being valued is so important, because there's going to be schools that reach out, but they just need to cash in a check or two as well, right? Sure. So I think that's really money advice. You're now committed. Have you gotten to play yet for Ryerson, or how's it going there?
Obviously, I mean, I think everybody knows what's really going on in Ontario right now, so it's not like the best situation for basketball players, but I'm just grateful I was able to get in the gym with them earlier on in the season. Like we all got to come in, got to kind of meet the coaching staff, got to see the campus a little bit from what I could, got to kind of build that little bit of base chemistry with a lot of the guys. But it wasn't really like, other than that, like we didn't get to go up and down the court as much. We didn't get to do a lot of contact stuff, and that all honestly ended in like, I want to say October as well. So I haven't been with them since October. So
how about the calculus to get into Ryerson? What was it like after completing your prep circuit, finishing out high school, and now sitting down and picking a school?
For me, I'm gonna be honest, like before I kind of knew anything, it was always like, okay, you got to know, so you got like XYZ school recruiting you, right? And it's like, where do you want to put your focus, right? And for me, it was like, I wanted to have an option north of the border, and I wanted to have an option south of the border. So I had my school set for south of the border, but Ryerson, actually, I hadn't had the confirmation of recruitment yet at the time. So it was like, okay, like they like me, they're working with me, they this, that, but they, like they've been having a lot of coaching staff changes. They had Roy Rana, then I think I don't want to mess up the name, but there was a second coach after that, and now we got Dave Guerrero. So there's been a lot of like switches in terms of like coaching staff. So like they were all figuring that out at the time, and I was just waiting it off, because for me it was like I would love to stay here in Toronto, play for Ryerson, because I think we all know the culture that Ryerson's painted in Canada for basketball, right? So it's like it's an amazing place to be as a basketball athlete. So at the time when everything's figured out and I got the call, and it was like, you know what, like we got a spot, this is like we want you, this is your spot. We feel like you can come in and make like this and this improvements on our team, and like just to see that I had value there, just to see that like the coaching staff, like it isn't just about, oh, if you want to come you can come. It's about, we want you here, they're painting that picture. So that in my recruitment really sold it to me, because not every school is really giving you that personalized connection, right, that Ryerson kind of gave me. So for me, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah, that's a cool approach. So you kind of, in the wings, you had your two like dark horses, like if it's up north, I want to be here. If it's down south, it's gonna be there. And it kind of just manifested.
No, for sure. It kind of just all worked out. And it for me, like growing up, it was like, okay, I'm in Toronto, so like when you look at Toronto collegiate basketball, you look at like Ryerson, like you kind of look at Ryerson and maybe like Western and a couple other OUA schools. But it was like, for me, when I got that call, it was like, okay, like there's no like all of this is silver lining. Like this is the school that you want to be at. Like that was like where it was like, okay, you kind of got your reward for doing what you're doing, because Ryerson's not a regular school. Like when we came in, it's not, a lot of teams will talk about like, you know, let's get to playoffs, or let's win this game, let's win that game. For us, it was like right off the bat, how are we going to beat Carleton in the finals? You know what I mean? It's like you got a goal and you're pushing that culture, right? So just to be there, like even the couple months I spent there, like I felt like I grew immensely, right? So like I'm just grateful that I'm able to be there right now.
Did you have the opportunity to select U Sports over the NCAA?
Yeah, I did. I actually did.
And how did that decision come about? Like, how do you do that decision?
It all ties back to value, bro. Like it's all about where you're valued. Like I said, I always tell people it's not about the biggest name school, because if I chose to do that, I wouldn't be where I'm at. Like I'll say that like to this day, right? So it's like it's all about where you're valued, and like the love that I was being shown from Ryerson, like Coach Jeremy, Coach Mario, all these coaches, they were showing me a lot of love. Even Coach Dave himself like was kind of building that relationship with me, and I was like, okay, you know, this is where I see myself really developing into that player that I want to be for that next level. So like for me, like I said, it was a no-brainer for sure.
Did you value the glitz and glamour of D1 or NCAA in general? Like, did you have to factor that in and be like, hey, that's like a lot of people's goal. That's like that's where all the, I guess, where most of the hype is. We're building hype here, but it's still, it is still apples and oranges to an extent. So like, how did you mute that part of your brain? And
I'm not gonna like if you ask any basketball player, oh, what's your goal? I want to go D1. Like that's just first immediate answer. I want to go D1. I go D1. And I feel like that senior year that I had in Canada, I was introduced to a lot of more routes. I was introduced to a lot more different pathways to do a lot of more different things. So even though I did have those D1 looks, it was like, okay, I'm gonna be honest, I just had the right people around me. I had the coaches around me to tell me, okay, you know, you go here, you can expect to deal with X, Y, and Z. You go here, you can expect to deal with X, Y, and Z. So they kind of really painted the picture for me. So, you know, I sat down and it was like, okay, you know, although I am coming back here, Ryerson, being at Ryerson, like it does give you a lot of the perks of being at a D1 school, playing at a D1 school. But I feel like I also took away a lot of those cons by going to a program that might not have valued me as much.
Understandable. What are your goals for your U Sports career?
Bro, honestly, like I'd never sell myself short. So for me, it's like I want to be the best, bro. Like I want to come out here, and I definitely want to just either, you know, solidify myself first at Ryerson as who I am on the team, and then, you know, it's nothing individual. I want to win national championships with this team, and I feel like that we definitely can. We got a great group of guys. Shout out Tyler Sago, shout out Malik Kennedy. We got, you know, a whole bunch of other guys on the squad as well. So we got a great group of individuals, and I feel like everyone is in that same mind space of buying in as well. So I feel like with the pressure on our shoulders from previous years and the talent that we got right now, I feel like we definitely can come out and really leave a mark these next like couple years. So that's where I'm at. Yeah.
I think my guy Marcus Upshaw might be there too.
Oh yeah, that's my brother for sure.
Yeah. Shout out to Marcus. He's active.
Oh yeah.
Love that guy. So what about scholastically and balancing that with pro aspirations? Do you have an aspiration to go pro?
Oh yeah, I do, for sure. That's what kind of why I'm grateful that I'm at Ryerson, because I got a lot of relationships. Jaden Frederick, he's pro right now from Ryerson. Trevon Coco also went pro from Ryerson. DR Al-Khalidi also went pro from Ryerson. You know, Aaron Best, I can go on and on and on, and I can name so many that went pro from Ryerson.
Good alumni. Right? Yeah,
great alumni. We got great alumni here. It's all about the culture that we also have at Ryerson as well, right? It's all about, honestly, like I feel like if you buy in and if you work, there's nothing really stopping you from doing the same thing, right? And the thing is, I've come so far already, being like I got so many kids hitting me up in my DMs, Pakistani kids like looking up to me, to messaging me like, oh, how'd you get your parents to let you go down south? Or how'd you get your parents to buy in? How'd you get your parents to this? And it's like, it's crazy to see that that's their questions, you know what I mean? And those shouldn't be their questions. And that's why I don't want to just end it off here. I want to take it forward. And I want to be that person that I never was able to kind of attach myself and latch onto for these kids, right? And it's like, it's definitely amazing. Also coming back to play for the national team this past year, it was amazing as well, you know, like to kind of go out there and see the value and the skill set out there of the kids just without the opportunity. Like I really want to take this game and be able to take it back home as well. So that's where I'm at. Yeah.
So you're the blueprint, bro.
That's the goal, brother. That's the goal.
Said Blueprint Ali. That's the name now. All right, I got you. circling back to your Pakistani roots, you had a really cool opportunity. I heard you trained with the team.
Yeah, we did. We came together. The thing was, we actually had our basketball program was dormant for about like 5 years, so we didn't have any like representation in FIBA for like the last 4 or 5 years, and funding wasn't really there, sponsors weren't really there. So I actually got the randomest email one day through like somebody, and this was like December of like 2019. They're telling me that like, oh, we're thinking about, because I have an uncle who's actually out there on the board of sports in city of Lahore in Pakistan. So he kind of like got me in touch, and they were telling me, oh, we want to start this out, we want to do this, we want to do that. So this past December, I actually went out there, and we kind of got the squad together, and it was a lot better than I thought it would be, for sure. Like I'm not gonna say I was the best. Like these guys are amazing. They have insane amounts of athleticism. They're like, they're a lot better than you think that the national Pakistani basketball team is. But it's just all about kind of coming together and just doing our thing at the Asian Games, and kind of coming out and really solidifying ourselves on the national stage.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you how you stacked up, because like I know it's probably not the biggest basketball culture over there, but you're competing against grown men. Probably more pros.
For sure. Yeah. Those guys are tough, man. They got tough skin, and over there, like I want to say like 6 or 7 of the guys are from the army, right? Like they're army men. They're like from the Navy, like they definitely are like some athletic beasts, right? So for me, it was like that's where I had to match up against. Obviously, like I got the skill set, I could shoot over a lot of these guys, but coming over there, it's all about like it's your athleticism that really separates you in a grown man's game. You know what I mean? So but that's where I had to really nitpick myself.
Yeah, and you already said that you have a goal to kind of change the culture a little bit surrounding Pakistani basketball. Do you feel that way right now, or is it just something you expect to feel later on?
I feel that way right now, bro. Like I felt that way actually even when I went down south. Like my parents always told me, they're like, and honestly, it didn't really click in until I committed to Ryerson, and until my name started getting out there, and until like a lot of these people started reaching out to me, until I was like, okay, it's bigger than me. Because I never at the time thought about it as like, oh, Zaid, the Pakistani basketball player. I never really like gave 2 cents to that. It was always, me being a regular basketball player. And then once I actually broke that barrier of playing college basketball, being the first OUA Pakistani basketball player, I even had City News come to my house and do a little segment on that as well, right? So it was like it was definitely like a wake up moment to be like, okay, this is bigger than me now. This is not just me. I'm actually representing a whole like community of people. So like I definitely got to be on my P's and Q's for the next couple of years, not only for myself but this whole mission. So
what are some parting thoughts you can shed with us right now for anyone, maybe any Pakistani players maybe growing up right now in the scene? How do you persevere?
Honestly, the thing is like if this is a pretty easy question for me, like because I can come right off the bat and be like, just stay true to yourself, man. Like any kids that want to do this, like don't let the outside noise become inside noise. You don't want other people's opinions and other people's takes on your life to become your take on your life, because a lot of people have a lot of stuff to say, right? And it's like, oh, so and so is doing this, that doesn't mean that you need to be doing that, right? Everyone has their own path in life, and it's all about staying true to your goal, right? Like if you just stay true to it, and whatever you put in, you get out of it. So that's my biggest thing. Like you don't need that blueprint per se. Like I didn't have it, and I'm not saying like that's the standard, but it's all about
being the blueprint.
Like no, I appreciate that. It's all about staying true to yourself, right? Like just pushing through, regardless if you have supportive parents or not. Like I know a lot of guys that have to fight their parents to be able to do what they love. You know what I mean? And it's like just straight true to the game, and the game will straight true to you. So that's what I gotta say. Sure.
I feel that. Zaid, you got a great head on your shoulders there. I think you're gonna do really well. I appreciate you taking the time, man, and we're gonna be watching. And best of luck. Okay.
Appreciate you for having me on here, bro.
Zaid Blueprint Ali, everybody. All right. Talk to you guys later. Peace.